Hello and welcome to the NBA Outlet presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow OTG on Twitter at OTG Basketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, my man, Harris Wichard. What's up, Harris?
What's up, Nick? A big night of basketball. We have 9 games to look at and talk about some of last night's games. So excited for the NBA TV Tuesday night, fan night, as we get rolling here with Off the Glass.
Yeah, honestly, life is just so much better when the NBA's on. Every night you have something to look forward to. Tonight we got 9 games, so ton of stuff to talk about. But let's talk a little bit about last night. What game stuck out to you? What team surprised you?
You know, I picked the Kings, and I'm going to continue to say Cousins' potential is through the roof until he kind of gets a little bit more under control. Not to sound critical of Cousins because he's a phenomenal player and he's got so much potential, but I just think that there are some situations where he can do a better job controlling his emotions, and that's been something that has been spoken about a lot. And I thought they could have won that game, and there are some moments there where him and Howard are going at it, and I just think that's obviously something he's worked on and gotten better at. How do you feel about the progression Cousins has made with his emotions?
You know, it's really a tough situation for Cousins. He plays for the Kings. There's already frustration just in that. He's never really had a good team around him. He's never really had a great player to play with. So, he has frustration. Then on the court when things happen, it kind of just adds to that. Obviously, as a superstar in this league, you need to control yourself. Things just aren't always going to go your way. And I know on the Kings, it seems like things never go his way. So, I've been saying this for a while. It'd be nice to see the Kings to see Cousins in a good situation and see how he acts. With some other veterans, some other good players, I think he probably would clean his act up.
Yeah, and also to add to your point, this is a Kings team that started 2-1. We spoke about this yesterday, and they were leading this game going into the fourth quarter. They scored 37 points in the third quarter. They made a really nice run. I watched some of this game, and I saw Ty Lawson's playing decent basketball right now. And after all the trouble he's had, it's nice to see Ty kind of bounce back from his, the alcohol issues that were well documented. So to see Ty Lawson back in an NBA uniform contributing, there is some talent on this roster, and I'm actually high on the Kings. I think this is a team that could stay around 500, but if Cousins is getting frustrated, they'll probably move him. We spoke about this in the preview, so I'm pretty sure that Cousins will figure things out, but I'm not sure he'll be on the team the whole year.
Yeah, that's a situation definitely to talk about, but save that for another episode. What did you think about the Nuggets and Raptors game?
The Nuggets and Raptors, DeRozan looks great. We're talking about a guy that's mid-range jumper is silky smooth. He's one of the few guys in the league that still utilizes the mid-range jumper, and he does it really well. Another 30-plus point night for DeRozan. And outside of Drake, the 2 most important people in Toronto right now might be Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. If they could continue to play at this level, again, combined for 62 last night, their only losses to the Cavs. They're 2-1. We know what they did in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So to see if the Raptors can get to that elite level again is going to be something interesting to watch in the East. They hold on barely. They were up big in this game. Let the Nuggets get back into it. Gallinari 16. Nurkic had 18 rebounds. So this is a Nuggets team that fought hard. I thought this game was going to be a blowout. It looked like that early, but the Raptors held on.
Yeah, no, talking about DeMar DeRozan, that's probably one of the most underrated free agent moves of the offseason is the Raptors re-signing him. He's such a good player, and we talked about it. I think he's had 30-plus points in every game this season, and he doesn't really have that great of three-point shot, so he's doing a lot of mid-range work, getting to the hoop, getting fouled. And, Lowry and DeRozan stepped up when the Nuggets got the lead in the fourth quarter, so that's what you like to see, your 2 stars step up. But this Nuggets team, they're competitive. They have some good players, Jokic, Nurkic, Wilson Chandler, Gallinari, Emmanuel Mudiay, Will Barton. So, there's some talent on this team. Obviously, I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they're a competitive team.
Yeah, there's some nice young pieces in Denver, and I've always spoken about their home court advantage and the mile-high altitude. So they'll run up and down and win 30-plus, but this is not a playoff team yet. We move on to the game that I know you don't want to discuss, the blowout that happened in Brooklyn last night. What was wrong with the Nets last night, Nick?
Nets didn't come out with much energy last night, but the Bulls also came out red hot. This team has been impressive. A lot of people talked about it. One of our writers even wrote a good article talking about how the backcourt would struggle shooting, but their shooting has been outstanding. there's a lot of team chemistry early on, which is interesting because it's a lot of new pieces. But I mentioned this yesterday in the podcast. There's a lot of good basketball players on this team. You know, they might not necessarily be great shooters, but they find a way to score. They find a way to make things work. I think there was a great play in the first half of the game yesterday, a fast break for the Bulls. They had a fast break. The ball didn't even touch the court, and they ended up with alley-oop.
Yeah, I saw that to Butler. And Jimmy Bucket, shout out to Butler, who has just improved every year he's been in this league. And I made a point yesterday that I might take him on my team over Harden. Now, do I think he's a better player than Harden right now? No. But if I have a guy that scores already, Butler is a great complementary player to your best scorer. Like him and Melo, I think, would complement each other well if Melo would have went to play with the Bulls. So this is a guy in Jimmy Butler that is a rising star in this league. He's an all-star. He could potentially be a superstar if he worked on his offensive game a little bit. So the Bulls off to a nice 3-0 start, and this is a team to be reckoned with, a team that has an opportunity and potential to be in the Eastern Conference Final if things go well and they stay healthy. Do I think they will be? Probably not. I still would like Toronto or Boston over them, but I think the Bulls, what I've seen over the first 3 games, they'll have an opportunity as good as anybody to play the Cavs in the championship round, the conference final round.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of forgot how good Dwayne Wade was, and I think he's having a big impact on this team. They also have a lot of nice complementary players. So I'll definitely keep an eye on the Bulls. Like you said, health will be an issue for this team. Do you think some of the Bulls' success is like addition by subtraction, you know, getting rid of Derrick Rose, getting rid of Noah, kind of letting Butler step up and giving him a new team, you know, that's his team?
Yeah, definitely. Rajon Rondo is one of those players, Nick, that when he has the keys and a couple pieces around him, he's dangerous. And to think about what he did in Boston, obviously with 3 Hall of Famers, it wasn't the hardest job. But Bill Simmons, and I refer to him a lot because I just think about what he said about Rondo. He called him primetime Rondo. Anytime there was a game on ABC, he knew it was nationally televised, you'd see a triple-double. When it was against the Pistons on a Tuesday night and 3 people were watching and 3 of those people were the biggest Celtic fans in the world, you wouldn't get the best Rondo. So I think Rondo understands now that he's at the point in his career where he has to salvage anything he has left to play around a couple of really good players in Butler and Wade, get some big guys involved. This is a Bulls team that can go out and win 50 games if you get an engaged Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, Rondo, like you said, he's an interesting guy, but he steps up in the big moments, and if the team's doing well, they'll always be in the big moments. So it kind of helps them. The success of the team has an impact on Rondo's play.
Absolutely.
But on to the next game. This was a late night.
The Matt. I'm calling this the Matt Handle game.
Yeah. So Matt picked the upset yesterday. That did not happen. Like we said, the Clippers blew out the Suns like we expected. This is a talented Clippers team. There's a lot of good pieces. They can't afford to lose games like this. So exactly what I expected. The Suns, they have some young pieces. Obviously, they had Eric Bledsoe and Brandon Knight. Devin Booker didn't play in this game, but still a lot of talent. But, they're not going to compete for the playoffs. Exactly what we expected.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a Clipper team that looks on a mission early. It's a team that is going to win a ton of games in the regular season. Like we know, we just want to kind of see how they could get to in the postseason. Now, this reminds me of, Stockton and Malone and Barkley and all these great players in the West that ran into Michael Jordan and the Bulls team. Sometimes there's teams and players in your way that you can't overcome. Chris Paul obviously has some flaws in his game, but he's a great, great point guard, as we know. It's unfortunate he has not been to the conference finals. He spent a lot of those years with New Orleans, and those teams weren't great. This Clipper team is very solid, but they haven't been able to take that next step. And they had that opportunity in 2015 and lost that 3-1 lead and would have had a shot, I think, at Golden State and potentially ruining that championship season because they matched up well with them. So this is a Clipper team that will have an opportunity for sure, but I don't know how good they are yet because they do rely on 2 players that can't really shoot. Now, Griffin has been much better on the perimeter.
He's improved a lot as a shooter.
Yes, he has, but he's still not as reliable as to say a very solid shooting power forward in this league. And there are a lot more forwards that shoot it better than him. So Griffin, great athlete, great player. What holds the Clippers back? I think their half-court offense in the postseason.
I think, the year that you're talking about when they lost a 3-1 lead, Blake was playing like probably one of the top 3 players in the NBA in that postseason until that, they blew that lead. So, I mean, a lot depends on him. When he steps up as a playmaker, not only a scorer, because you talked about it, he's an okay shooter. I would say he's probably solid, but his game is inside. When he's attacking the rim, he's getting those easy buckets. And when he attacks, they're forced to double team and he makes the right pass. This helps his team a lot because they have shooters like J.J. Redick out there, guys that can score like Jamal Crawford. And, I mean, Chris Paul can shoot too. DeAndre, obviously, his free throw shooting hurts the team so much because you can't play him late in games. But I think they still have a very high ceiling. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in Western Conference Finals.
No, absolutely not. And I don't think anything would really surprise me with the Clippers. If they won the finals, I don't think would it really shock anybody. I
mean, they're kind of due. We've been expecting success from this team for a while, and we haven't seen that success. They're obviously hungry, and like you mentioned, they've come to play early in the season. It'd be nice to see Chris Paul get some postseason success because everybody is on his back about that, and it kind of hurts his standings, overall point guards ever. But his numbers are great. Just that postseason wins.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of the action that we have tonight, the doubleheader on NBA TV. The three best teams in the league are in action. First thing I want to ask you before we look at the 9 games on slate for tonight and make some of our predictions, out of the Spurs, Warriors, and Cavs, we know what the Warriors did last year, the 73, adding Durant. Curry did get hurt in the playoffs. The Spurs won 67. LeBron has never really chased wins in the regular season. Out of those 3 teams, do you think anybody's really interested in chasing as many regular season wins as possible?
I don't think any of them that's a goal. A championship's a goal for all 3 of those teams. It's tough to say which team is most likely. I don't think the Spurs really will because they'll be resting guys all year long. I think Pop already rested Tony Parker and Ginobili a game this season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't see the Spurs doing it. The Cavs are interesting because they're a lot deeper than people think. And they also play in the Eastern Conference, which still has its weak teams. But like you said, LeBron doesn't really chase wins, so I'd probably have to go with the Warriors still just because they're so talented. They could rest a guy and their team can still get a 20-point win just because there's so much talent in the starting 5.
I think this is the one year Cleveland might go for it. And the reason I say that is because anytime LeBron's teams win titles, if you look at the following year, they play very relaxed. And they had that 27 – there's no reason why this team couldn't rip off 20 wins in a row. They're talented enough to do it. LeBron's Heat team won 27 in 2012-13 after they won his first title. They won another title that year, and then LeBron in 13-14, obviously we know ran into the Spurs. But I have no reason not to believe that this team wouldn't go 65+. LeBron has won 60+ in this league with way worse teams. The thing is he's getting a little bit older, we know, and chemistry issues and whatnot. But I think this is a team that's going to go out every night. I expect them to win tonight at home against the Rockets. They're going to go out every night and compete. Even if LeBron were to sit a few games, which he will, they still, like you said, they still have that deep of a roster now. And they have guys that are confident, championship experience. If I had to make a prediction, I think the Cavs can win 70 games this year. I really think they can.
I mean, the one thing they have to their advantage, too, is they have 3 stars. Kyrie can easily step up, and he looks like a man on a mission this season. We talked about it as a possible, dark horse MVP candidate.
Right.
And then Kevin Love could kind of step up this year. Like you mentioned, the whole team's relaxed. They won a championship last year. There's not much pressure, especially with the Warriors signing Kevin Durant. It's like the Cavs kind of can just breeze through because everybody's focusing on the Warriors right now. So, like you said, I think they could get 70 wins. I also like their bench. They have some nice vets on there, Channing Frye, Mike Dunleavy, Richard Jefferson. So, I mean, all guys that probably want to have a nice little mark in history before they go out.
Absolutely. So without further ado, the most anticipated part of our entire podcast, the prediction part, and we will start with the Rockets and Cavs. I've made my selection. I'm going to say Cavs by 8.
Cavs by 8. Yeah, this is probably going to be a high-scoring affair. I think the Cavs will kind of relax a little bit more on defense, but they'll probably get the win by 10.
Yeah, so
I expect a big game from Kyrie.
We both say 8-10.
Yeah.
All right, now the Magic and Sixers, one of my upset picks of the night. I like the Sixers getting their first win. I think this is going to be a very close, entertaining game. Does it matter really who gets their first win? No, both teams have been poor. But the Sixers played the Thunder tough, and Embiid has shown me something. I like the Sixers by 2 tonight in Philly.
This is definitely an interesting game. I don't know who to pick. The Magic have not looked very good. Sixers haven't looked great either. Give me the Magic. I think Elfrid Payton has a big game. I picked him in FanDuel today. The Sixers are giving up like the second most fantasy points at point guard. So I think the veterans on that team need a win, and they see the Sixers, and they're like, all right, come on, we got to win.
Yeah, I stay away from some of these games, Orlando, Philly, in the fantasy world. I mean, Harden's gonna play decent tonight, but I just wouldn't pick them against the Cavs. I don't know if I would pick anybody. The Houston Cavs game, like you said, might be high scoring, but there's always a shot of a blowout when the Cavs are playing. So it's like especially like a team like Houston that's going to try to play up and down, and the Cavs laugh at that and then slow it down a little bit. So I think there's always a chance of the blowout. And then the Magic, the fantasy game of the night that I really like, for some odd reason, I don't know why. I think Milwaukee and the Pelicans is going to be just a joke. I think that you could see that game. Could you not see that game in like the 115 range? I know Milwaukee's decent defensively, but Anthony, Davis and Anthony Kanupa, like, I feel like that pace is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, that should be a fun game. I also had Anthony Davis in my FanDuel picks because he had a 99-point game this season already. You know, like he's coming up. And like we said, the Bucks, I mean, defensively they were good in the past, but they're struggled this season. They don't really have a big man inside who's locking anybody up. Look for Davis to have a big night. And I'm going with the Pelicans to get the W.
Absolutely. So I actually picked the Pelicans also. I think the Pelicans by 10 tonight. I think Anthony Davis is going to have another monster night. But let's look at so we agree with the Cavs. You pick the Magic. Look at the Lakers and the Pacers. I think we both agree Indiana gets on the winning
Pacers,
side of this one.
I think the Pacers need this win. Coming off 2 disappointing losses, they lost to the Nets, then they got blown out by the Bulls. Paul George needs to come up big. Miles Turner needs to come up big. Another 2 guys in FanDuel that you should kind of grab.
Yeah, Pacers by double digits. I don't think they'll struggle with the Lakers. What about the Kings at the Heat? I picked Sacramento last night on the road. I got burned by that selection. One of my few losses all year long. I had a nice streak going. I like the Heat by 6 here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Heat as well. I think the Kings, they played well last night, but on a back-to-back, this Heat team's interesting. Spoelstra's definitely has his work cut out with him with the young pieces they have because they have talent. It's just about making that talent play together. So give me the Heat.
I can't wait till Muhammad listens to this pod because you know I'm going against the Grizzlies again. I got the Timberwolves getting on the win column at home tonight. That's one of my other upset picks.
I agree with you on this one as well, just because they've already played once this season, and beating a team twice this close is kind of difficult. Also, Ricky Rubio's out indefinitely, so I pick up Chris Dunn and FanDuel, a good little value play right there. Definitely. It'll also be interesting to see how the rookie plays. I think Karl Anthony Towns wants to get this W.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the local game. Nets out of action tonight. They'll resume tomorrow. What about the Knicks and Pistons tonight? This is not a biased pick. I like the Knicks to get their second win of the year.
Yeah, the Pistons haven't looked that great yet. The Knicks are at home, correct?
No, it's in Detroit.
Oh, it's in Detroit. That changed my mind. I'm going to go with the Pistons.
All right, so we disagree so far on 2. The Magic, you took the Magic over the 76ers, and you took the Pistons over the Knicks. Other than that, no disagreeing. I expect you to take the Spurs over the Jazz.
Spurs over Jazz. Spurs are looking a lot better than I think a lot of people imagine going into the season. So, and the Jazz have kind of struggled. They're still missing Hayward. Burks is still out. So, give me the Spurs.
All right. So we're going to keep the standings all year. Matt Handel introduced that idea, and I like it. So 3-1 were both of us last night on a Monday night. So a Tuesday night, we have 9 games to choose from. We have 2 different so far. And now we take a look at the marquee matchup of the night. Dame Lillard at home. He loves to play against the Warriors. I expect this to be fantastic. I think it actually has a shot to go to like OT. I think this is going right down to the wire. And I love the way Lillard plays against the Warriors. This is going to be good stuff. Yeah, this will be a great game. Definitely watch Dame Lillard have his chip on his shoulder. But give me the Warriors. They already had their loss for this stretch of games. for the next 20 games, yeah. Yeah, I don't expect them to lose again, and I don't really see how they match up with Kevin Durant. So wait, you're just making the claim they're going to be 81-1? No, I'm just saying for like this chunk of games. You know, like probably every like 12 games there'll be an opportunity for a loss. They already had that loss, and I think they know they're starting to get a little rhythm. You know, you're starting to see it. I think they could. There's no reason to believe they couldn't rip off 20 in a row if they wanted to. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, if like 2 of the 3 shooters get hot, lights out, like it's ridiculous. Clay hasn't even played that great yet. So we nailed the most points night a few days ago. Let's take a revisit at that. Which player in these 18 teams in action tonight will score the most points? Give me Anthony Davis. I'm going to go on a wild card. I think Wiggins is going to have a huge night. I don't know why. I know that Memphis team is good defensively. I just think Minnesota is going to click tonight. I know Memphis plays well on the defensive end, like I'd mentioned, but I just think this could be a 40-point. I think Wiggins is going to be due for a big night. It's just on a limb. I had a feeling about Wiggins. How does Memphis, you know the stats and all the fantasy stuff, how's Memphis been the first 3 games defensively on the perimeter? Do you know?
I didn't see anything that really stuck out, so I'm not sure, to be quite honest. I would think they haven't looked as crazy defensively as they have in the past, so I think it's a possibility. Another guy would probably be Dame Lillard. Yeah. We talked about it. He comes out to play against the Warriors, home game. He'll be chucking threes, trying to match Steph Curry.
They're 15th in opponents. They're 15th in opponents' points per game, so that they probably have given up 100. And I would say they've given up 100 a few times, if that's the case. If we looked at it here, I mean, there's no reason to believe they wouldn't. Yeah, they've given up 104, so not your typical Memphis defense. And if you look at the teams, the guys they've given up big points to, Wiggins had 25 against them on opening night. So and that's, the guy that, I think might explode here. He's averaged 27 in the first few games. So I think he has the opportunity to go off tonight.
Yeah, he definitely does. Any player, any given night. So another thing I wanted to ask you about, Draymond Green came out and said that he wants to annihilate the Cavs this season. Like he's already talking trash to about the Cavs. Yeah. Do you think that's a smart move, or do you think it doesn't matter?
Well, the back and forth, the thing I don't like, the back and forth, I mean, we know LeBron and they had that party the other day where they said blew a 3-1 lead, and there's just, I like the competitiveness in the league. I think it should be encouraged. We live in a very sensitive world today. Everybody knows that any little thing could bother somebody that's said or done. I don't mind the competitive back and forth. I really don't. I think that's what this league is all about. It was built on that in the 90s. There was a lot of trash talk. And in the 90s, you could trash talk and then go out to dinner afterwards. Today, if you trash talk, who knows what's going to happen? You'll get blasted on social media. So giving everybody a voice is sometimes dangerous. If Michael Jordan played today, there'd be a lot of criticism for Michael and other guys that played in the 90s. So I don't mind it one bit. I mean, I like it. I want these two teams to go at each other every year if it was up to me. So I think it's one of those situations where so be it. I mean, it's just the way it is. And these two teams, they know they're the two best teams in the league, and they're going to enjoy going at each other. I can't wait for the first one that they play each other. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a great game. I kind of agree with you on this too, because I feel like trash talk is something that's missing in the league. Everybody seems so friendly.
Yes.
They're hanging out so much. You don't see like that competitive edge, or like, I don't know, or you see it with players, not to be mean or anything, that don't matter quite as much. Right. Not the stars, just the role guys kind of get into it a lot. Like, it'd be nice. Obviously, one guy who gets into it with anybody, he doesn't really care, is Russell Westbrook.
Right.
So I think that's why Jordan probably likes Westbrook so much, that little competitive edge. He's willing to go at anybody.
Right.
So it'd be nice to see a little bit more of this.
But yeah, I mean,
do you think Draymond, or do you think, like the other perspective would be Draymond kind of should have learned his lesson last year? He tried to awaken the beast, and he did, and then they end up blowing a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, I mean, Draymond not being able to play in Game 5 hurt, but then again, they lost Game 6 and Game 7. But Draymond played well in Game 7, and they had an opportunity to win. The game was tied for about 2 minutes. So the Cavs are acting like the world beaters, and they are. I mean, they won the title, but listen, a couple plays down the stretch in Game 7, and it's a totally different narrative. So
just one play, that LeBron block on Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, it's amazing that things like that happen and how it changes the course of basketball history sometimes. Durant going here and this going that guy going here. So I don't mind it one bit. If you want it, I don't think that's a guy you want to go near. As far as talking wise, I said Jason Terry learned his lesson the hard way. So I don't know. It's one of those situations where LeBron is one of those guys I don't think you really want to go at like that. And there are certain guys you can, there are certain guys you probably shouldn't. But I think LeBron is one of those guys that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, like you mentioned, maybe earlier in his career,
right?
Maybe done it, but now he's seasoned. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's the final 6 straight times. He's a man on a mission. So I wouldn't mess with LeBron. You just got to hope that he has a bad night and not even say anything about it.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of guys you can see are intimidated. I would say that the list of guys that aren't is obviously Westbrook. I don't think Westbrook gives a crap about anything, but
Anybody.
yeah. So I think Westbrook, Paul George is another guy that stood up to him before. So there are some guys around the league that don't care, but for the most part, he's going through the lane, and it's almost like the parting of the sea sometimes.
Yeah, no, you definitely can see the fear, especially in somebody stepping up for a charge after what happened to Jason James.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
shout out to he's had a good, I know jokingly, but Terry's had a real good career. So he's been on several different teams and he's won a title. So, but I just think that one dunk was, if you saw the way LeBron looked at Terry in that dunk in 2013, you could tell that in 2011 there was something else going on. I mean, we knew that the Mavs were trying to get in his head, and successfully did because he played very poorly in that final.
Talking about great careers, shout out to Ray Allen, who announced his retirement today. You know, there's been word about him possibly coming back the last few seasons, but he officially announced his retirement. Some big moments, obviously, for him with the Celtics, that big shot with the Heat in Game 6 against the Spurs. So,
yeah, definitely. Shout out to a guy that was known to the younger guys now as a shooter, but we got to see a little bit of Ray Allen on the Bucks and Supersonics. I remember staying up really late to watch those Knicks Sonics games and just knowing that the game was over in the first quarter because Ray Allen was coming out like an animal and he was dunking on people. So Jesus Shuttlesworth, some best know him for his work in the movie He Got Game with Spike Lee. And so Jesus and Ray Allen go hand in hand, and one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. Before Curry may have been arguably the best shooter in NBA history and had the 3-point record now over over Reggie Miller, which Curry will break. But just amazing NBA career, amazing work ethic, and a lot to be proud of. A champion also with the Heat.
Yeah.
And Celtics.
Yep. So
two-time champion.
Do you see him taking on any type of coaching career possibly or no?
I think so. I think he'll stick around basketball. I'm sure he's a talented guy. He could probably be in acting. He got game role. He could probably do other things. He's going to stay around though. He's not going to, he has too much love for the game to just completely vanish. He'll probably be on the TNT crew at some point like Garnett's doing. That seems to be a popular trend. He might go he might go elsewhere, but I think he'll definitely be around. He's a very bright guy. A lot of people respect him a lot around the league because of his attitude and how he's carried himself. So I could expect Ray Allen to definitely be around basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the KG thing on TNT. That's going to be awesome. But that wraps it up for today. As always, thank you guys for listening. Great show, Harris.
Yep.
On to the next one.
Of course. Enjoy the games tonight, guys.